So when does wrestling enter your friendship?
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And you're watching Tom Talks Rubbish.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by both of the Give Me a Whole Yeah boys. I'm joined by Dom and Anthony. So welcome to the show, chaps.
Yo. How are you doing? Thanks for having us, Tom.
As we were just saying off camera, this is going to be a fun one, I think.
It depends on your definition of fun, Tom. Any time I spend with Anthony is it takes its toll on my brain. So but at least you're here. At least you're here, Tom, to mediate.
Exactly. And I'm just happy to be here with my best friend, Tom.
Shut up.
Me. I'm great.
Are you talking to Tom, Anthony? There.
Yeah. No, that's our relationship, Dom. That's been together for 20 plus years.
20 plus years.
So you brought up 20 plus years there, boys. So how do you two first connect? I know we spoke about it a bit in your separate interviews.
Yeah, I'm always talking on your podcast. Go on, I'll give the floor to Anthony.
Well, we met at college, man. We were both a bit alternative, a little bit different, a little bit seeking a community, a gang. And me and Dom certainly come together through our love of music, I'd say. We both were massive fans of Marilyn Manson at the time, both massive little goth boys. And just started hanging out there. And we sort of knew each other through theatre as well. And I think that was sort of the, because we were both studying theatre at the time. That was sort of the impetus to get together. But our relationship sort of formed through our love of music and So
we were studying theatre together as well. You could probably tell Anthony's quite theatrical, and we just kind of hit it off. Really, we both connected and we became friends and that's the short version, I guess. But here we are, 20 years later, still friends, just about.
It's very
like a marriage.
Yeah,
it is. It's exactly like a marriage.
And you can actually get less time for life as well. To be perfectly honest.
I was going to say that. I was going to say that earlier. You get less time for murder, I think.
Stealing my jokes, always slower than me.
It's interesting to me that you brought up that music was the thing that connected you and not wrestling. So when does wrestling enter your friendship?
It wasn't until I got back into wrestling, I don't think. I think Dom has always been into wrestling and sort of continued with that through line. I sort of left wrestling at high school and me and Dom met when we went to college. So I think for me, it was certainly, it will have been that time as opposed to, it was music. I don't think it was wrestling.
Yeah, and then wrestling came. I think wrestling came when we were just talking. We just talked about things we loved, over the time, and we were like, one day we should do a wrestling podcast. I think, and then that's, I think years later the wrestling podcast formed when I came up with the idea. What a load of
rubbish this is! You just make your own history to this. Right? What happened?
Is he WWE? Does he make his own history?
That's an absolute history. We never talked about wrestling. What? We never talked about wrestling.
Well, how did the podcast happen then?
The podcast happened because about 6 or 7 years ago, I got back into wrestling, and then I started talking about it, and you was like, "Oh, I love wrestling too," and we both love Mick Foley, so we'd had a shared interest in Mick Foley at that point. I was watching of podcasts at the moment, especially Stephen Larson. And I said, why don't we rip them off and do our own thing? And you went, oh, that's a great idea.
So we talked about wrestling. That's what I said. I said
you make it out like we talked about it. This isn't an interview. This is therapy, Tom.
Is this just your life, man? Dom correcting you.
It is all the time, man. Tom, I'm glad you see it, mate. I'm glad you see it.
Streams. You're there on the streams, Tom. You see it. Anthony bullies me. You know what? I'm leaving the podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Way!
I'm kidding. That's it. I'm officially announcing it right here on the Tom Talks Rubbish podcast. I'm leaving. Give me a whole year. I'm not really. Wow. I'm not leaving.
Wow.
I'm not leaving.
Don't leave me. I can't do it without you.
I was just going to say that as much as you two,
because
yeah, I will use that. Is it sort of like if I'll put it this way, if Anthony said to you, Dom, look, I don't want to do this anymore, would it be the sort of thing where you would have to say, I can't do this either?
No, I just said do it on Soundsphere. But no. Anthony, like realistically, Anthony brings an engagement and a love for the community that as much as I'm really privileged and proud of our work collectively on the podcast, Anthony's sort of love for the community and that connection that he has with our community is unrivaled. I do interviews, I do this, it's good to do stuff with impact and all that stuff, but really Anthony is the heart and soul of the podcast. He's the Johnny Gargano to my Tommaso Ciampa. He is the heart and soul of Gimme A Whole Year. I do interviews and do that kind of stuff, but really we've worked out, that it's actually Anthony's connection with the people that watch us that is what drives the subscribers, drives the watch time, which, as you know, Tom, as a YouTuber, is what matters. For years, yeah. I was okay. Let's interview Drew McIntyre. Let's interview Charlotte Flair, which are obviously on the channel. All these interviews with these companies. But actually, that's great and everything. But realistically and honestly,
if no sod's watching, it's pointless.
Yeah, exactly. So Anthony really does bring that connection, and I wouldn't be able to do that without him. He has a real empathy and understanding for our community, and I'm really grateful. All jokes aside and all bickering aside, I legitimately couldn't do it without him.
I think that's
is that similar for you, man?
No, not at all. Here's the thing, right? Me and Dom have different strengths and different things that we push each other to achieve. And I think that Dom is just as integral to the Gimme A Whole Year podcast, especially his communication with the community. But one of the things that I'm no good at, and Dom gets frustrated at me all the time, is the social media type of stuff, the communication type of stuff. And I actually think that together we make a really good team. And what we do is we both push each other. And you've seen our bickering, you've seen it at the start of the podcast. We have a laugh, but it's actually through working together and pushing each other to be the best, which is why the podcast is a success. And I think there's elements that we could both do without each other, but it wouldn't be the Gimme A Whole Year podcast with just one of us at all.
Yeah.
We've both made it what it is today.
That's actually really sweet to hear, guys. So what is the wrestling moment that you feel like bonds you both?
The wrestling moment. I think anything. I mean, in terms of an experience,
or the wrestling in general that bonds you.
Well, I think our love for Mick Foley bonded us originally. I think the what keeps us going is the community. And that might sound a little cheesy, but as you know, we've recently become monetized. We recently, are able to get at least a small.
By the way.
Yeah, at least a small
Thank
financial
you.
incentive, and like I say, the community that bothers to support us in that way. We never thought that was possible. We never thought that even when we got there, people would be throwing out super chats and things like that. And that's what's happening on our streams, because people legitimately want to be there and want to engage. Us. Yeah, want to engage with Anthony's AEW streams, or when I do New Japan or Ring of Honor, or when we both do a WWE pay-per-view. It's the community is. We can't lie, I can't lie about it. I can't say it's cool that we get to do WBE stuff, and I can't, the what it is that bonds us together, what it is that makes the podcast a success, like Anthony was saying, is the community. It's as simple as that. It's people like you, Tom, people like you that help us by putting us on your channel. You're an emerging up and coming YouTuber with a lot of potential. You've obviously got a lot of success already, and you're interested in what we're doing, and that's, to us, that blows our mind.
It rocks, man.
Me and Dom have spoke about this, and I'll say this to Anthony. My chat, it's a two-way street, because my channel would definitely not be where it is without you guys going, "I'll come on," or "check out his channel" during your live streams. So I have got to say thank you for that, by the way.
Pleasure, man.
That's part of what makes Gimme A whole year really sort of unique, because we're not a huge podcast. What we can do is really engage with people. And so, like, when people come onto the stream, you do get people who are just wanting to push their own stuff and all that sort of stuff. And actually,
I feel bad about doing that. I'm not gonna lie.
You don't have to feel bad. I mean, what I'd say is the difference between you and other people that come on, Tom, is you'll engage. And once you engage with us and you engage with our community, we'll welcome you into that. And anyone is willing to share anything. And I'll quite happily say, look, we've got a fan who's a Star Trek fan, our moderator, Jack. Absolutely have some talk about Star Trek.
Is that the dude that watches Raw now?
No, that's Dan. That's Dan Adreeves, who deserves a shout out for his work.
He does.
He has all the pop vinyl figures. But Jack is our moderator. He's been our moderator since we started the live streams 2 years ago, and he's the Star Trek guy. So and then obviously, like I say, you're a Holomaniac, Tom. You are part of our community. So we appreciate you very much.
But that's cool, and it's like guys, just we can share our thing. It's a wrestling podcast, but we can absolutely share as long as we still bring it back to the wrestling at some point. And there's no reason to say, like, I've seen Tom's channel, I know what Tom's channel is about. Like, go check him out. He's a really good guy. He's got some really interesting content. I'm interested in it. If I'm interested in it, you guys might be interested in it. So I'm absolutely not against that sort of sharing and growing a good community. And less we talk about sharing without sort of talking about people who have shared us in the past. And I don't think we'd be where we was without our collaborations that we've done, be it through Botch Guy, be it through Scott JO1, be it through the Wrestle Story. We've worked with a lot of different people who have shared us, and we've shared their channels, because it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way conversation.
It definitely is.
Dan Reed as well at Eve Right Girls Wrestling. These people have got thousands more subscribers than us, and they don't need to help us, but they do because they like Anthony, they hate me. But
that's not true.
Okay, I'm kidding. At least I hope I'm kidding. But we're very lucky. We're very lucky to have the people that we do support us. To be able to communicate with YouTube celebs, really like Botch Guy, and someone like Dan Reed, who has an incredible women's all women's wrestling promotion. Eve Right,
Pro Wrestling Eve rocks.
Pro Wrestling Eve. You can see wrestling live streams we've done of them on the channel. So and that was all it was, wasn't it? You reached out to you were going to do, Anthony. You were going to do the Eve Right Girls Wrestling streams. You did, and then you met Dan that way. Scott JO1. You were a fan of his work on the old WWE WBF then video games. And his reworks of those. So you got him on the channel. Gerson's Gaming is another one, So there's so many people that have got involved with what we do, and the Wrestle Story, of course, a prime example. Regular supporters and
collaboration, man. Working with each other just creates a community, and as long as you're all within the same. We've got the kind of. Our ambition is to make this podcast a safe place for people to discuss and talk wrestling without it being a negative place. That's what we don't want. And I hope we create that. I think we do create that for people.
Yeah. I think we have the empathy just like you do, Tom. I think because of my difference in disability, because both me and Anthony have an understanding.
We're going to get to that in a minute if you guys don't mind.
No, absolutely, but that's what I mean. I think that's what makes us different. And I also think, to plug the content, and this is probably quite a bold statement, but I stand by it, there's very few people at our level doing, live streams of multiple wrestling promotions.
As consistently, I definitely agree with that.
Into interviews, as well as, as well as video game stuff. I think we've got it all.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to grow that now. And I don't see many YouTubers out there doing what we're doing.
No.
So and I'm very proud of that, and that's taken a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy from all of us. So so we're very proud of that, and thank you, to anybody watching this, thank you to get behind us, because like I said, we couldn't have done it without you.
No,
you guys rock.
I 100% agree. So if we move on to some disability questions, obviously, Dom, you've lived with cerebral palsy all of your life, same as me. But when you meet someone with cerebral palsy, Anthony, is it like I'm trying not to get
do it, man. Do it. It's fine. I'll
when I meet someone with cerebral palsy, go on, Tom. Go on.
When you meet like Dom, who's got cerebral palsy, did you know immediately, or was it like you think that you found? I know it sounds dumb, but with me,
no, it's not dumb.
It doesn't, because I know how. I obviously know the story. So carry on.
We know exactly where this is going, Tom.
All right, tell the story then.
All right, so here's a really good example, right, for you to sort of to understand it. Years ago, me and Dom was into music. We used to go to alternative rock clubs, and we both went out to a nightclub, and we'd been best friends for about 3 years, something like that. And there was a really beautiful girl that I wanted to hook up with.
I see where this is going.
And she was only interested in Dom. My friend Dom. So I'm working my magic. I'm trying to get her to see the light and see that I'm the better person, but she doesn't. She just sees Dom. And she says to me, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "What do you mean, what's wrong with him?" She went, "What's wrong with his legs?" I went, "I don't know." She went, "What do you mean you don't know?" I said, "I don't know." She said, You said to me you was his best friend. You said you'd known him for years. Yeah. She said, "So what's wrong with his legs?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I'll go find out." Dom, what's up with your legs?
I love that story.
What's up with your legs? Well, I've got cerebral palsy. Oh, is that what it is? You know that? No, I don't. Cool. Okay. I'll go back to the girl, and he's got cerebral palsy. And it's a true story, Tom. And that it's not that I don't care. And I know so much.
You just don't see the disability first, which I think is quite cool.
I see it. I don't have to sort of. Dom's talked to me a lot, even before this time, about the operations he had to have and his anxieties about the operations that he had to have. We performed theatre pieces about the. I've dragged him across the stage on his legs because of a theatre piece that we're doing. So we'd absolutely talked about it, but at no point did I have the need to ask. What I did is went out with Dom, went and got drunk and had a good time, and that's how we see each other. That's how I see Dom's disability. Dom, to me, he has a disability in terms of a physical disability, but he doesn't see it himself. So he will not let it get in his way whatsoever. And I think there's an interesting, I've talked a while, but there's an interesting conversation about something we talked about early on in the start of the podcast with Dom's disability and how much we sort of acknowledge that or don't acknowledge that as well.
This is something that we've discussed as well, isn't it, Dom?
Is it? Right. Okay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just to interject really quickly, and thank you for that, Anthony. I think that there's something to be said here in brief about how, I wouldn't be as confident as I am without Anthony's input. Anthony treats me as he would treat anybody else, and has done so in bars and clubs to the point where we have
images of you twerking on a bar now.
Oh well, something similar.
Yeah, probably.
Something similar. But like, he has had people say to him, well, you can't do that. You can't give him that drink and stuff like that. And Anthony's literally like, F off. He's my mate, and and that kind of the confidence Anthony gives me when he is not only out and about doing his thing, because he works really hard in his day job and in the theatre industry, but also on the podcast, and also out and about as well when we go out. Anthony's confidence rubbed off on me, and sometimes he does rub off on me as well. I you know, one of those things, you know, to say is my confidence has increased over the years. I wouldn't be in the relationship I'm in now. I wouldn't be as happy as I am now. I wouldn't be, you know, doing the work that I'm doing now. Soundsphere is a lot to do with, and you know, a lot to do with the confidence that Anthony gave me from a young age, just saying, we're going to do this, we're going to go here, we're going to drink that, we're going to speak to that person, we're going to, you know,
We're going to travel to London at 16 by
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah.
Oh, I know this story.
You're gonna take your clothes off here. No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean.
What?
It is.
Please elaborate.
No, but that I can't, mate. Not on this podcast. But that's what I mean. There's some stories. There's some outtakes and some X-rated stories we'll give you at some point. But what
Fair
I mean,
enough.
my confidence as a person. You know, and I don't think I've ever said this directly to Anthony. You know, my confidence.
You're welcome.
Is directly related to Anthony. I attribute a lot
Yeah.
of my confidence to him as a person as well.
I really appreciate that. But one thing I'm curious to know then, Anthony, is how have you changed since meeting Dom?
I've got. I mean, it's just how have I changed since meeting Dom? Dom is my best friend. Yeah, he is an absolute dick. But you know, that's just like
I can say that
being
to
friendly.
you. I can say that to you though.
You can absolutely.
I bet I could say a lot worse.
Yeah.
And get away with it. No, we have a friendship. Dom's always been there for me. Dom's seen me through some really tough times, and he knows that, you know, when I need a shoulder to cry on, he is there, and I appreciate and value that. And you know, he's a great person who has a really informative way of looking at things, which I try to do, and we try to have conversations about it, and I can sometimes come out with more shocking things, but I think that's what we both enjoy as well, like taking a question which doesn't have an answer and debating it and figuring out what is ethically right or wrong. And I think that there's so many lines that are all over the place, and me and Dom have very different lines on stuff, but we can always talk about things and we can always respect things. And I think when bringing it back to wrestling slightly, I think that's how we talk about wrestling as well. We try to be analytical about wrestling and then if you are analytical about wrestling and watch it as sort of an adult that can be analytical about wrestling and stories and the performance and the characters, then the moments where you get swept away by that emotion, Dom does it a lot, I do it occasionally, where you get completely invested in that, is when it becomes really exciting, because you understand how you've got to that point, but you live in the magic, and that is one of the magic things about wrestling. And I think that's I don't even know if I answered your question. I'm just talking rubbish.
I know what you mean, and that's the perfect thing to do on this show, my friend.
Rock and roll.
Absolutely. There you go. It's in the title.
Not just Tom talks rubbish.
It's guests talk rubbish as well.
Yeah.
So one thing I am curious to know about the podcast is you're different people. So obviously you're going to have different opinions. Is there ever a time that like Dom or yourself, Anthony, have had to go, I'm walking away from you because I don't agree with your opinion, and this is going to end in a fight?
Quite literally one or two times. But it's one of those things when you, and I think that's something we have
strictly speaking about wrestling as well.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I was gonna say when you're friends and you turn something into a project where, you know, you potentially, well, now we are making money from it, the dynamics can kind of change a little bit. And you have to keep an eye on that, because you know you got to make sure you're both on the same page with what you're doing and what you think. But I think in terms of wrestling, you know, and I'm very grateful, by the way, that Anthony does listen to me, you know, and has gained a lot of empathy over the years, I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
This is just me rambling, but I'm very grateful for Anthony for listening to me. If I have got something that I want to, you know, change up or a concern or whatever, and I hope Anthony feels the same way about me. But in terms of wrestling, I love Bray Wyatt. Anthony thinks Bray Wyatt is overrated, and we'll have full blown fights about it. Same with AEW. I used to be a massive WWE guy, and I would fight WWE's corner every week. And Anthony would be sitting there, up Kenny Omega's backside, and I still think he's overrated. I think he's amazing.
Really? That's bold.
I think he's an incredible talent. I just don't think he's as good as people say he is. But he is an incredible talent. I will say that.
Fair enough.
I am not Kenny Omega, but and there is only one. But yeah, Anthony will fight Kenny Omega's corner, and I will fight Bray Wyatt. So I believe the other one is so I believe Bray Wyatt is a better entertainer than Kenny Omega, and I also think Dolph Ziggler is a better wrestler than Shawn Michaels. And those are things that me and Anthony will fight on, just for an example.
And he wonders why he's a heel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm not the heel. I am not the heel on this podcast.
I
Jeez,
think
man, my audio's a bit too high for that. Oh,
anyway. I think the thing is, Tom, in terms of like disagreeing about wrestling, ultimately it doesn't matter. Me and Dom have differences of opinion about wrestling. We don't fall out over a difference of opinion about wrestling. That is just, it's a form of entertainment to us. It's something that we enjoy, but we don't fall out about it. We joke about it. We have a laugh about it. We push each other's buttons about it. But in our history of sort of fallouts, some of which have been with the podcast, I think none of them have been about wrestling.
Yeah, most of them have been to do with like the podcast
creative decisions. Let's put it that way.
And I think that's something we know as two dudes starting out. Remember, like I believe this. I say the podcast started 2.5 years ago when we did the live streams. Obviously, we have 4 years previous to that where we were just doing pre-recorded Wrestling Rewind episodes where we watched previous episodes. But I think the podcast really came into its own and really started when we did live streams. And I think that when we did that, we were like, oh, we'll never, it's just going to be this thing that we do because we love it. And we still love it. But now it's become something much bigger where Anthony has a vision for it and I had a different vision for it when we started, and we had to come together. We have to come together because what works for Soundsphere, Tom, for example, and this is the best example, what works for Soundsphere doesn't work for Gimme A Whole Year. So I'm like, let's do this because this works for Soundsphere. Let's do this and this and this and this. But I don't have Anthony's not involved in Soundsphere to that level. So, it was not right. It's not necessarily right for me to be like, this is going to work for the Gimme A Whole Year podcast and that's what I did. I came in thinking this is going to work. This is how we're going to do it. And I had to listen to Anthony and go, well, actually, we're going to step back and we're going to be, for example, and in brief, he was like, we're going to be the personalities. I had a different vision where I was like, I'm going to get as many people involved as possible, and do that.
Now I think you've made the best of both worlds.
Well, yeah, but actually, I think we've come to a nice compromise, and that is because of our communication as friends.
It was tough, and it takes a lot of back and forth because you've both got a different vision of and we're going back a couple of years now to when this was sort of a thing, and it was like, right, what are we going to be as a podcast? Are we going to be a cultaholic? Are we going to be a what culture? Are we going to be a Stephen Larson? Are we all these wonderful sort of podcasts? Yeah. And then we have to sort of figure out where we fit within that and what makes us unique. And that was the difficult. That was, to my recollection, Dom, the sort of back and forth that we had because we didn't know exactly where we was going to be and exactly what would get us the sort of recognition on YouTube, because that's what it's all about in terms of trying to hit that.
And I suppose at the time that you two started, YouTube was saturated as well.
Yeah.
Well, we come in too late. I mean, if we'd started doing it even 2 years earlier, I think we'd have been in a better position. I mean, because there was less people doing this on YouTube. But
the pandemic, which is great because it started a lot of people's creative juices flowing. So people
mine.
Exactly. People started podcasts, and I think that's what we need to remember is that we built this through that pandemic, and we built that community, and we're so lucky to be in a situation we're in now. But it is credit to Anthony for really for talking to me about it and going, actually, we're more we have more in common with, say, a Stephen Larson, and we're very respectful.
I'd love to see that collab. I'm not gonna lie.
I think we need to be a bit bigger for that to happen.
We'd love to see that.
We're not all Tom Talks Rubbish. We don't have the. You're the forbidden door of wrestling podcast.
I'll put in a good. You know what? I speak to them regularly. I may put in a good word for you.
All right, I've never seen anybody bring together so many wrestling YouTubers. In one,
it's crazy, isn't it?
You are the forbidden door, Tom, and I think that is your unique. That is your unique selling point. You are the forbidden door. We got 9 minutes left. Let's.
Just a couple more questions before we do quick generic questions, and then we wrap up on my wrap-up question, which you both know what it is. You've been on before. How different is your on-camera chemistry to your camera chemistry, and then? Did your camera chemistry develop straight away?
No, I'll let Anthony take this one.
No, I think, I mean, if you go back and watch our very early videos, I was very nervous. Dom was more comfortable at talking because he was more comfortable with the subject matter. I think, Dom, you were more comfortable talking about wrestling, and it was something that I just really got back into.
I think we kind of, we really, I think we came into our own with the live streams, man. As much as I think as much as I like watching old wrestling, we were like, it was a slog, filming.
It was hard.
It was a slog filming, because we used to film together. And I hope.
Will we see you two in person again? Is my next question.
Well, the problem is we've both become very comfortable with this way of doing things, but we do.
Fair enough.
We do get together for the video game stuff. We do only live about 20 minutes away from each other. So we do get together for the video game stuff. And we probably will do some live streams together. Just special. We're going to make it more of a special thing, I think. But I think the pandemic, it really brought it together. Sorry, man. I'm just like remembering some of the stresses of filming with all the camera gear, because
mate,
a proper setup in his flat, all the camera gear, all that stuff set up in his flat to watch a 3 hour long, old school pay-per-view was great fun. But the live streams, man, was when we came, going back to your question, when we became more animated, because we have people to talk to. You have to put on a show when there's more than 10 people in, when there's 3 or 4, it's like having your mates round. But when you get to 10, and we've obviously had up to 70, well, we've had more than that, 70, upwards of that, in the streams at one time. And you gotta entertain. And so we became, so finally we got to use that theatre A level that we came out of college with,
I think I think one of the differences between us in real life and us on the podcast, I'd say, is we do have to censor ourselves a little bit. As you've probably seen from the start when you invited us on
this, but there you go.
There's a lot more swearing and stuff like that. But that's fine, and that was a conscious decision of us. Like, what's the point in us having this sort of over the top heavy sweary podcast? If you go back and listen to our early stuff,
I thought I was being funny,
and it's not. It's actually there's more interesting ways to say stuff, but it also it discludes part of your audience. If a kid is watching it and his mum hears that, like, that's not fun,
No, I get you.
Yeah. And we now do have those people. We do, we're lucky to have a younger audience now, and they stick with us, and so we're very grateful. And I'm glad. And that was, again, to your credit, Anthony, something that you talked to me about. You know what I mean? And just kind of Anthony and I, we both kind of bounce off each other. If Anthony's got a criticism, or or a recommendation rather, because of our friendship, we're okay. We're like, yeah, cool, all right, yeah, we'll try that, or we'll do this, and it's really. I'm really proud of it, and actually being here sat with you both now on this interview has made me realize how grateful and proud I am to still be doing this, and to have an audience, and to have the interest of you, Tom, to talk to us. It's an absolute honor and a privilege, really.
No, absolutely. Man, you both know this. This has been amazing. So instead of doing generic questions, because obviously we are short on time, I am just going to ask you, what is the one wrestling match that you think bonds you to?
Foley and Taker, Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Triple H Cactus Jack.
Royal Rumble 2001.
Royal Rumble 2001.
Yeah, Hell in a Cell's better.
Yeah. Well, they're both great. they're both
Just my opinion.
I'm trying to think of a modern one. Let's think of a modern one that we both like fallen in love with. It'll be an AEW thing, maybe. Or Ilya Dragunov and Walter was exceptional. What about?
We didn't watch that together though.
No. Oh
yeah. What's a good one that we've watched together?
I'm trying to think. When we watched all. Was it Dustin? What about Dustin and Cody?
We didn't watch.
My favorite match.
No, we did watch that. I'm pretty sure we watched that together. I'm pretty sure we did because it was the first AEW pay-per-view.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. We do have a lot of shared sort of loves. Yeah, we did watch that. We watched that at mine, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I remember.
Yeah.
Cody and Dustin would be the modern one.
Fair enough. So as we wrap this up, you guys will know my generic question by now. But then what is one video that you're both on together that you want the people to check out? And then what is one that you're like, don't go back and watch that. We've grown a lot since then. And then just plug away.
I'll let you do these ones, dude.
I feel like the one that's going to get the most traction is the one that we said don't watch. So if you want to advertise that, Dom, I'm going to say if you want to watch us engaging together, probably did we both do Revolution, Dom? No, we didn't, did we?
No,
no, you did Full Gear.
Full Gear.
All did we do All In?
I think we may have done. Go back, basically.
WrestleMania 35.
Yeah, there you go. WrestleMania, do WrestleMania because there's a lovely moment. We're just talking about wrestling, wrestling podcasters and being, because we were just going for monetization. We had thousands of hits, and when I pop on my phone because I'm watching Cody's debut in bed with Emma, having a nice time. I pop on to take the glory from Dan Reed is on there with Anthony, and I cancel the stream with my finger
instead of removing himself.
Was that by design?
No, that was a botch. So if anybody wants to go and see what being a wrestling podcast is really like, and the proper botches that can happen, but also how well, because I think WrestleMania Night 2 was me and you together. WrestleMania Night 1 was you and Dan Reed. I think anything I've done with Ring of Honor has been amazing. We've Ring of Honor has been fantastic because again we've built a whole new audience. Not to hurry
you, but I'd say because
WrestleMania Night 2 this year, I would say.
No, WrestleMania Night 1. Watch the end of
I'm
it.
not on that.
One.
Oh,
Watch Dom's botch. Watch Dom's botch. It's hilarious.
I am on that right at the end because I end it by accident. Yeah.
Lonker.
So where can the good people find you as we wrap this up, gents?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Gimme A podcast. You can find us on Facebook. Thank you.
All at Gimme A Hull, everything at Gimme A Hull, There is a link tree which has all of our links in there. If you go to our Twitter bio, you can find that. Everything is in there. The Discord, the Facebook, the Instagram, everything you need is on that. So if you look in our Twitter bio, all of our links are there in one handy place.
It's well worth
Which is also going to be in the description of this video, isn't it, Tom?
Which it will, yes.
Thank you, Tom.
It's well worth doing, guys. So if you guys like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. Check out TTR Clips for clips of my interviews. Check out bodyslam.net for my new show with Cassidy Haynes. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.